everybody! But we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of lazy music. Episode 105 of Kamloops Last Week. Christopher Folds. Bennett was here, but he's not anymore. Magic Mike and Billa.
I had the color bars going on.
Ah, that's okay. We'll roll with it.
All right.
105?
105?
105?
It's 105. That's a lot of episodes, eh? Is that total or this year?
105 total.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. 105 actually is interesting. Like a couple weeks ago, there was a story, and it relates to 105 because it's a criminal code section 105. It's if you lose a firearm, you don't report it to somebody, you can get charged. So there was a story a few weeks ago about that was part of the charges.
You probably had an issue.
Oh yeah, that
back in the day with that.
Yeah, criminal code section 105. If you have a firearm and you lose it, you don't report it. 105.
Okay, interesting. Anything for you there, Mike, with 5 or 105?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. If you take 105 and you take the 1 and you add it to the 5, you get 6.
Whoa!
But if you take it and you do it off, it's 4. So 47 is my age. So if you... This is a very special episode because of that.
Yes, 47. That's like Foles last year or last week.
Last week, yeah. I've looked at numbers differently. Yeah,
I watched that again this morning.
What was that?
You made some weird kind of formula almost and brought this point together about the number.
1918 or something. Yeah.
1918 to talk about the Black Sox.
Yes. I was thinking I couldn't sleep last night, so I got up at 6 or 3 or 4, and I was just pondering stuff. And I think about 104. I thought, well, I'm going to look something up. So I knew that 104 take 223 take away 104 is 1919. So I thought, what happened in 1919? Right away I knew Black Sox, the Black Sox scandal.
So,
Black Sox scandal.
Right, you know, Shoeless Joe and.
Can you run that logic through me again, please? Just one more time, a little slower.
Well, because it was 104. That's right.
Convoluted at best.
You're convoluted.
Great show today, Glenn Farrow. He's been tough to nail down.
Yeah,
but
he's locked in today. Yeah, Glenn Farrow is the I think environmental services manager for the City of Kamloops. He's going to be here to talk about this very controversial, in some cases, program that just rolled out literally today with the bins.
I thought it was 21st.
No, it's this week. The week of this, it's the 20. Well, this week. So I got mine to pick up today, first day. So for the first time, I got my garbage and my compost picked up. I didn't have any compost there. I forgot about it, so it's all in my garbage. But starting next week, I think we'll do that.
How's your recycling game?
We've been doing the compost program for probably a year now.
You were on the pilot project.
We were on the pilot project. My wife is like very dutiful with it. Mm-hmm. Loves it all. They got us new bags, I guess, recently.
What do you do if you run out of the bags? Because you got to buy your own after the first 30.
We didn't use bags at first. We just dumped it all in there.
And then spray it out afterwards?
I don't know.
It's a plastic little bin that you have in your kitchen, and then you dump that into the big bin in the garbage when it's filled.
Yeah, and she'd clean the one in there.
But yeah, apparently you're supposed to put, I'm grabbing tons of newspapers from work because you can use newspapers in the bin and then in your big bin just to line it a little better.
Oh, yeah.
We're recording?
Yeah, we're recording, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's actually been really good. It doesn't smell.
Have you seen your garbage go down, the amount of garbage? Because garbage is now twice every 2 weeks, not every week, and that's what people are freaking out about.
Yeah, sometimes it gets a little full. Like today was garbage. Yesterday was garbage day for us, and it was pretty full. But it all works out. Yeah, it's been okay.
It's going to be a fire-centric episode. It's been a disaster weekend last week for the Shuswap in our area. Do you have anybody affected by the fires?
Oh yeah, our sales rep in Kelowna was evacuated twice. The place he went to as a safety got evacuated later that night, and my sister's evacuated still. So both those guys are still
Are their homes okay? Do they know?
They don't know.
Are they in West Kelowna, their homes?
They're in West Kelowna, yeah. And in fact, one of our sales rep just moved from, he had a place at the top of West Kelowna, and sold it and moved into like a townhouse or a complex, condo kind of a thing. And one of his trees of his place, he said he knows caught fire. So it's a scary situation for sure.
Yeah, one of my good buddies, old buddies, Mike Makayev, he moved to Turtle Valley a couple years ago, and they got evacuated, and it's been scary as hell for them. It looks like I think they have 3 houses on their property. It's still going on right now. It's not a totally safe situation, but I think their structures are going to be saved. Anyway, his sister and her husband are coming on to talk to us today about their whole situation. You and I were watching an Instagram video this morning.
Yep.
It was an interaction between a conservation officer and a resident of the Shuswap area, and it's a perfect example of the battle that's going on between the bureaucratic the rules that are in place and for a reason, and people defending their homes and saying, I have to stay home and I need to get access to water, and they feel like they're being blocked in a lot of ways
They are being blocked.
These rules,
Yeah.
and they are. So
Yeah.
I know Curtis and Ashley have experienced that too, and we're going to get a first-hand account of what they've dealt with.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. I have a friend who's a truck driver, and there's a guy in Scotch Creek that was protecting homes with a water truck and pumps and stuff. They ran out of diesel, and they phoned him up and said, hey, he works for him. He says, hey, can you bring one of the trucks full of diesel, 2,000 liters or something, straight to the fire? And he got turned around.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's kind of ballsy, driving a fuel truck into
Through a fire. So I know.
wildfire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can understand how you need to have certain rules in place, because, you know, you might just be driving a fuel tanker into a fire.
Yeah, it's also been crazy, some of the stuff that firefighters are doing right now. I have friends from White Rock who are driving up, and from Langley, they're driving up here to help to save these people's homes. And it's not all about, you know, shitting on the authorities and BC Wildfire and everything. We know everybody's trying to do a good job, but there's just things happening that people are...
There's too much fire and not enough resources, and this is what happens. People have to protect their homes.
Yeah. Okay. More on the fires. What was it like this past weekend? You were...
It was busy. It was very busy. I was working with Lachlan LeBaire. He's a reporter at Salmon Arm Observer. Him and a few other people there doing a great job just to keep it up. It was never ending. It never ends. It's like constant. There's always stories happening, right? Got a phone call from someone in the Shuswap who wanted to talk about on the ground stuff. Lachlan LeBaire was talking to James, a firefighter there, an actual firefighter who was working as a volunteer firefighter. So he's an official guy, but he had issues with what's going on out there. Just, you know, the travel restrictions, which are ended. They're now ended. Now you can go. Hotels are now open again for regular folk. Just everything happening. You know, the amount of just information coming out is staggering.
The planned ignition was interesting.
Planned ignition. That was a story that I did. I talked to Jim Cooperman, and he's a well-known writer. Lee Creek, and his house, he's a well-known writer, he's a well-known environmentalist. I think, I stand to be correct, I think he came up during the Vietnam War. He came up here as those draft dodger guys, and he's very, knows well the Shuswap, and he writes about the ecology, and he's very into, like, you know, preserving it. So this fire is really tragic for him, not just for the homes, but for the whole, you know, the ecosystem. So he called me to tell me, hey, this is not right what's happening out here. And so I talked to him, and then I covered the Saturday afternoon press conference in which the Cliff Chapman, he's the spokesperson, he's the head guy for the BC Wildfire Service communications, and he said, hey, the backburn did not cause the merging of the fires. The backburn worked. It saved a whole bunch of saved hundreds of homes.
And it wasn't that caused the fires to come together
to merge. Yeah, he said that was the wind after the fact. He said the backburn worked because he pointed out that it saved the homes here. The fire went this way, and he said it would have went that way regardless. Jim Cooperman disagrees. He watched the backburn from the backyard of his house because it happened right on the slope, and he said at first it worked like that. But he says that he takes issue with them doing it when the winds were about to pick up. Other people also took issue with that.
There was a change in the winds, right? Because they were predicting the winds were going to go the other way.
Well, no, they knew the winds were going to come and change, but what they had a window. So the winds were blowing hard against the fire, so northward. They're going north, so that's when they did the backburn, because they knew this, if we burn here, the flames are going to burn into the fire, right? And then it's great. And they knew in about an hour, it was going to shift 180 and come this way. But by that time, they hoped, and he said it worked, Chapman, the stuff that was burning into the fire, and then the winds come this way, this was all charred, had nothing to burn, and then it went that way. And that's how they explain it. But yeah, there's differing opinions on everything here. It's like a he said, she said thing. We're not on the ground out there. We don't see it, but we see the video. You're almost, the next best thing is there's tons of video out there of people on the ground talking to the cops, watching the flames come here, fighting this fire, putting out spot fires here. And there's a lot of residents there, Koopman included, who while they say, they appreciate the help, they disagree with the messaging.
Yeah. It's just scary too. My friend Tim messaged me. He's like, how's your buddy Big Mike doing? That was right when that evac order came for Turtle Valley. Mm-hmm. So I called him right away, and he's literally panting on the phone running. He's like, oh, gotta go, man, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Hangs up.
Yeah.
So, and then he texts me a little bit later to let me know he's safe, and he's like, apocalyptic views out of his rearview mirror. Things are just burning.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like that Fort Mac videos from a few years ago when Fort McMurray was burning and people were driving through. It looked like a movie. They were driving through embers, like not embers, but falling trees. And I know a few people out in Turtle Valley who got evacuated, and it's harrowing for sure.
All right, we'll talk about Ethan Katzberg at the end of the show. But for now, Mike, Folds, us three, I mean, it was a solemn weekend because we were worried about the fires, but we had to kind of take our mind away from it for a little bit. And I know you led us on a kind of an adventure.
I'm the guy that likes bird watching and hot yoga, that kind of a thing. But I decided that it'd be kind of fun just to do something completely different. So we went to Volkswagen and we we took for a test drive a new Volkswagen car and decided we go sightseeing. And what did we see, Chris?
Oh, well, the weirdest thing was you like bird watching.
Love bird watching.
He likes sort of like the marsupial kind of guys, like
I always have.
Marsupial.
So we thought, let's go.
Thank you.
Let's go to the
guy.
Bill goes, that's a possum. I was like, good.
The possums and kangaroos and stuff like that. So we were going to go see the kangaroo farm in Kelowna, but then we realized we shouldn't travel because of the fires and everything. Mm-hmm. So what did we see in the corner there? The possum, right in Valley View, right by the Tournament Inn.
Mm-hmm. And what really I remember most, though, because you were driving, and you were intolerable. Mm-hmm. Number one, you were going after Terry Lowe. Mm-hmm. You were saying, I can't believe it takes so long to get these vehicles. He says, Foldsy, because we called him up on the speakerphone, right?
Yeah.
You're an idiot. We got 8 in stock, probably down to 5 now, because people are seeing our show and buying.
I remember saying, Terry, I can't afford the huge interest rates.
It's like so low right now.
And I didn't realize that.
They are Terry low
rates.
That's right.
At low LOWE rates.
His attitude, did you notice too, some of the cockiness and arrogance?
I noticed it came out as a little bit of petty and kind of bitchy, to be honest. But I realized he needed some caffeine.
Right. Well, I think he almost didn't because he was so hopped up on his own ego. But we went and got him another coffee at McDonald's because it's such a good deal we couldn't pass it up. So he drinks this coffee. And now, because he had a good show last week, and somebody on our YouTube comments said that Chris Folds is their news hero. So his ego, and he starts calling himself, I'm the big deal. Like he's on the speakerphone to Terry Lowe. I'm the big deal.
I'm the BD. And then we had to get him to explain big deal, yeah.
Well, I had to tell him there's only one big deal in town right now, and it's at Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. You're not the big deal. If you go to Gord's and you buy any 2 qualifying Maytag and Whirlpool appliances, you save 2 honey. You buy 3, you save 3 honey. That's the big deal.
That is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
What can you buy for 2 honey?
No, you get 2 honey off.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you do that. You've saved $200. Now you got $200 extra.
Yeah, and you can do with that, eh?
Yeah, you could buy 200 cups of coffee from McDonald's.
Well, you can tack it on to the $9,000 in government rebates you're going to get for your electric VW.
$9,200.
I mean, there's
no
luxury
all the money
tax.
We're saving. Yeah,
there's no luxury tax on that either. Yeah. What a weekend, boys.
It was a good weekend.
Okay,
what happened to the possum?
No, nothing. It was just wandering around, right?
Couldn't catch it.
He couldn't get it.
I do. Hey, is a marsupial also a raccoon?
I think it has to have a pouch, but I stand to be corrected. Someone will correct me, but I thought a marsupial had the pouch.
Like a kangaroo.
Like a kangaroo.
So is a possum the only Canadian marsupial? I should have asked these questions when we were on our trip.
Yeah, we forgot. We were so busy with his ego.
Possums are fascinating. I think opossum or possums, they're very fascinating animals.
They're all right. Let's move on now to Above the Folds with Glenn Farrow. It's brought to you by McDonald's.
How can I get for you?
Oh, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Oh, fantastic. Got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you like Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Oh, what's your favorite song?
There's a lot, actually.
Oh, can you pick one or which ones are your favorites?
Probably All Too Well.
All Too Well. Oh, that's a great one. I like Lover the song and Lover the album.
Oh, that's cute.
And I cannot wait to be basking in the afterglow of the false god that is McDonald's coffee.
What size?
2 medium coffee, please. Both with 2 cream.
For sure. That's all for today?
Yeah, can one of those be decaf, though?
Yes.
Awesome. You have a good reputation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I had a box of wine with a possum on my honeymoon.
What?
Box of wine with an opossum.
You had a boxed wine.
Box of wine with a possum.
Yeah.
A furry suit.
Furry
probably.
suit possum, no question.
That's where it started.
Glenn, Farrow, how you doing?
Very well.
Do you have a passion for garbage?
I do.
How did that come about?
Well, there's a lot of different things. I was raised on a farm, so always working the land and working and doing the right thing for the environment was always near and dear to my heart. So as I work for the city, I'm now passionate about diverting as much as we possibly can from the landfill.
You are the Street and Environment Services Manager for the City of Kamloops. What does that entail?
A lot of different things. So, you talk about snow clearing, potholes, sweeping, asphalt repair. That's on the street side of things, as well as line painting. So the markings that seem to wear out a bit in the spring. And then on the environmental services side of things, the landfills, the yard waste sites, as well as all the collection of that material.
You must hear a lot from people. I mean, we've talked about this, it sounds kind of like mundane, kind of boring-ish topics, but people care about this stuff, and we hear a lot about it at the newspaper.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I hear from a lot of different passionate people about that. Lots of folks have opinions around the best way to collect garbage, the best way to plow the snow off the street. So yeah, I have lots of great conversations. It keeps every day exciting. There's never a slow time throughout the year. There's always some sort of exciting thing. If that's we haven't swept quick enough, or the roads are slippery, or we can't see the line paintings, or there's too many potholes, there's always something exciting happening.
Folds, you want to tee up why he's here today?
Yes, this is the week. It's we're taping this on the 23rd of August. This week on the 21st, it's a radical new change for collection of garbage, recycling, and introducing composting. So it used to be, up until now, every week, your garbage and your recycling went up in a bin each. They took it to the place, they brought it back. Now, they've introduced composting, which is to get rid of stuff that doesn't go to landfill and create greenhouse gas emissions, stuff that can be composted, so you're not wasting it. Your food stuff, basically. So this little bin here came inside of a bigger bin. The bigger bin is like a garbage can. It's in your garage. And this bin is in your kitchen, right? It has these little bags, and you can also use a newspaper.
Yep.
And when you're after dinner, we used to throw all the food into the garbage, unless you're composting at home. But you put it in here. Okay. And then once this is full, you put it into the bin. And then the thing, though, this bin is the big bin for composting is collected every week. But garbage and recycling has now been moved to every 2 weeks, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So that's the big shift.
That's the big shift.
adjustment.
And that's a big shift that people are kind of sort of concerned about. Some people, they're like, well, how's this going to affect my garbage and all this kind of stuff?
You brought some kind of show and tell items here. Do you want to run us through or lead the way on?
Yeah, for sure. Chris did a great job already of doing the intro, but yeah, every single curbside property in Kamloops received a 120-liter cart. So in that cart, you can put all your organics. So in that, you got your kitchen catcher. You received a bunch of these bags for the liners within the kitchen catcher. They don't fit. We know that. We understand that. This was more of a bit of a promotional marketing part to understand there's options. You can put a newspaper in there. You can put your bag in. There's different things that people can use or not use depending on. We're trying to reduce the yuck factor, right? Some of that's kind of smelly, dirty. By containing it in a little bag, you're controlling that and making it more acceptable for some people that this is a new system, a new process entirely. We've created a new solid waste collection guide. This is really exciting. It covers off everything, garbage, recycling, composting, a lot of information around there, what to take to our landfills, what to take to our depots. So really, it's been years since we've compiled everything into one nice little guide. So we've gotten a lot of good response from the community around this on having that in one special spot. Then we also had, each unique zone is going to be shifting when their collection is. So when is garbage, when is recycling? This is confusing, this is a struggle. So we're encouraging people to download the WasteWise app. That's the key part in all of this, right? So you get that reminder, you get that notification on your phone whenever you want it. If it's the night before, the morning of, to set you up for success. And the key part of that is to have those carts at the curb in advance of 7 a.m. As you can imagine from the collection side, this is changing our world significantly.
Yeah.
So if you're used to getting your cart collected at 9:30 every morning, and that's how it's been for the last 10 years, it might not be that way anymore. Because of all these shifts, your collection might now be at 7:30. So get those carts out at 7 a.m. ready for the truck to pass by.
The people on the ground doing the collecting, are they excited about this? Is this good for them, or how does this affect their job?
Yeah, for them, historically, they've been collecting 2 commodities each and every week. It looks very similar. We're still collecting 2 commodities. Those commodities have just shifted and changed. The other part that's changing in the collection world, and another reason why the routes continue to change, is historically, since 2008, when we launched the recycling program, we provided one truck. That one truck collected both commodities. Now we're making more shifts on that too, so you'll see not only one truck going in front of your property, but 2. So one will collect the organics and one will collect either garbage or recycling, depending on what week we're folding.
So we know that now this is picked up every week, except for the three months in the winter. It goes to every 2 weeks. So now garbage and recycling used to be every week, but now they're every 2 weeks. So like for today, for example, mine was garbage and compost. Next week is recycling and compost, and then garbage and compost.
Yeah.
I understand the reason for the going to every 2 weeks for garbage, because theoretically you'll have less garbage because a lot of it will be in here. Why are we going every 2 weeks with the recycling? What's the rationale behind that?
A big part of it is the cost driver, right? If we could absolutely collect every commodity every week, but by doing this rotation through the pilot, that's what we discovered. Based on volumes and tonnages, as well as consulting with most other communities within the province, has a similar model, collection model as that. So again, this isn't anything crazy or earth-shattering. This isn't just an idea that's happening within the City of Kamloops. If we look at the Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island, these programs have been in place for quite a few years. So we are seeing that will be a struggle moving forward with the volume of recycling. Historically, you have your 245-liter cart, you throw all that material in there. Now you're going to need to work at it a little bit more, especially that cardboard. You're going to need to break it down.
Yeah.
We've always encouraged residents to break it down to about the size of a magazine. So there needs to be more thought going into that. The other nice thing about the organics program, some of those contaminated fibers, those papers that historically may or may not have been going into your recycling.
Like a pizza box with a bunch of cheese on it.
Exactly, can shift right in there. Right. So for myself, I had my collection yesterday, and there were a few pizza boxes in my organics that was absorbing some of the juicier liquids from my food scraps.
What kind of pizza was it?
I think pepperoni or something, right? So it wasn't even from our own home. It was from somewhere out of region that didn't have recycling services.
Oh, okay.
My wife brought it back in, and there's actually a lot more than just 2 boxes, if I'm being totally honest.
Okay.
It filled my recycling cart, which that's a concern. That collection is not going to be till a week out. So you just need to think a lot more about your whole waste collection streams
and
than historically you have had.
And if you happen to have too much and you're worried about another week, you could take it to depots in town, right?
Absolutely, and that's why I brought these big fancy pink bags. These are all the different things that are accepted at the depot. So not in your recycling program, not in your compost program.
General grants, what have you.
Yeah, they're all part of the Recycle BC provincial program, and it's depot. So that's what that option's there for. Not only is it your pop cans, beer bottles, your glass, your soft plastics, but any of that excess material that is at your curb, the cardboard, the hard plastic containers, all of that can flow to those recycling depots.
With this, one last thing, we don't want. What's the reason for this program, essentially, so people understand? Why are we doing this?
For sure. The biggest thing is the GHG impact. So it's methane gas that's being released at the landfill and how it's breaking down there. By composting it and dealing with it a lot quicker, and through that process, it's carbon dioxide, which is less harmful to the environment.
And that stuff gets used, right?
Absolutely.
In a beneficial way.
Yeah, we're creating, rather than just burying it in a landfill, now it's a resource that we want to use and reuse, in our gardens, sports fields, that kind of thing. And then the other key thing is it's really, really difficult to site a landfill within the province. So in order to expand the life expectancy of our landfill by years after year, that's going to be huge for our community too.
Mike, you popped your head up. You have a question?
Oh, I just wanted to say that we've been on the pilot program. So we've got the 3 bins that we've been rocking for probably, was it a year now, something like
Yeah,
that?
over a year now.
Over a year, yeah. And it's been really great. We're in the cadence of it all, and doesn't seem to bother us one bit with that. So, and I thought it was going to be stinky, but it's not really stinky at all. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's been great having that pilot program that ran for over a year, and we've continued to run it. So, on social media, I'm seeing, some concerns, some complaints from people that are just getting this now. And then you see an awful lot of back and forth from a lot of the pilot folks saying, this works.
I mean, is there anything that disgusts you? Like, I mean, as somebody who's passionate about this kind of thing, like, is there anything that really bothers you?
Yeah, it's funny, right? As a farm kid, you'd think I would like maggots and mice, but I can't stand mice. I find them they're the most startling, shocking things. So yeah, I'm not a very good farm kid in that regard. I hate mice.
I meant more about like what you hear about how people recycle, and like things that people just huck into the bins, or I mean, is there anything that really bothers you about that side of things?
Mice.
Yeah.
He doesn't like when they put mice in the bin.
It's just nice.
Yeah, for me, it's, people are going to make their decisions. We're trying to arm them with the best information possible to make the best possible decision. There's going to be some residents that will not fully align with what we're trying to implement. And that will be a challenge for them to go 2 weeks with their garbage collection and not having that pulled out into the organics stream.
Couple things just to wrap it up almost here, and we talked about this in our Q&A in the newspaper a couple weeks ago. It's just for the people. Why can't people opt out if they're already composting in their backyard?
For sure. So we've definitely heard from the backyard composter group, and this program isn't specifically for them. It's for the masses, right? It's for people who have never tried backyard or tried and failed, like myself. So really, with these type of services, administratively, it's a real challenge to understand who's in, who's out, and the people that would remain on the program, the cost would go up quite a bit because we're not spreading it out. But what we're trying to communicate to the residents who've been doing the right thing by backyard composting for years is there's product that you're not composting. The chicken bones, some of those things that take a long time to break down or don't break down very well, chopsticks,
right.
Weeds.
That stuff can go in the city, and they can keep doing their composting as they wish.
Absolutely,
Okay.
and we're going to see that. Like, depending on where you are, the size of your yard, you could put a lot of yard waste in this bin as well.
Okay.
So for myself, I often have a pail of pine cones, leaves, grass clippings around. Well, that's not sitting on my property now for a couple weeks. It's gone. Every week it can go to the curb. I don't need to make a special trip to the yard waste facility every week or every 2 weeks. I have a cart available, 120 liters. That's a lot of food scraps.
Okay.
So not only is it your food scraps, but also that yard waste and those weeds that are accumulating, that can all be gone to the curb each and every week.
If garbage and recycling is now being halved in the collection time, how come people aren't getting a discount on what they pay? That's another argument that came up.
Yeah, and that's something we've heard. We look at our garbage and recycling rates. Recycling is $1 a month, so $12 a year. Organics is the same thing. The only rate increases we've seen over the past decade as it relates to garbage collection is for the largest garbage container. That's where the focus has been. So large producers, large consumers are kind of
a user pay system.
It's absolutely a user pay system with that, and that's the way our structure has been set up. So we look at how we haven't seen a rate increase, but if we talk about inflation, we talk about the cost of trucks, the cost of fuel. It's been challenged. So we do have a solid waste reserve, and because there's money in that reserve, we've held off on having those rate increases. We are looking at having a minor rate increase for, again, the largest containers as we move forward into 2024. But we look at the full scope of services that we're providing on the solid waste front. And yes, that service is being cut. However, this whole new stream is being introduced for a very, very affordable rate of $1 a month.
Why is it being taken to Princeton? Why can't it be taken to Cinnamon Ridge? Another question I got. And how often does it get taken to Princeton?
So that's definitely the preference we've heard from council and from residents is to have it processed and composted locally. We say that on the one hand, but it's also quite smelly as it's being processed, and some of the challenges on where we would site a facility like that. So right now it is heading to Princeton, similarly to how we handle our biosolids, and those trucks are running daily, truly, to get out there. We don't want that material sticking around town.
Is there a place where you put it before it goes here?
Yeah, right now it's at the Bunker Road Yard Waste facility.
Very short time and then it's gone.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've already shipped out loads from earlier this week, and that system's functioning quite well. And we've done the breakdown on GHG impacts of the methane at the landfill versus hauling this outside of our community and our region, and the numbers are extremely good, and as it being the right thing to do.
And that benefit, environmentally wise.
Yeah, from a GHG perspective, it's significantly better to have that product out of our landfill.
Okay.
Even though we're hauling it.
Right on.
Okay, thanks for coming in, Glenn. Thanks for all the show and tell. Make sure you get your pamphlet and read up and try and do the right thing.
And the electronic version, that WasteWise app, download that,
Yes.
set that reminder. You can search whatever product that is, grass clippings, glass, soft plastics, whatever it is. It's all on the app. So
Yeah, that's right here.
we're seeing the uptick on that app go through the roof. So appreciate the support of the community as we work through this.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at this super cool shirt I got, Maytag. Pet Pro Laundry.
You got the shirt.
Because shed happens.
Oh, unbelievable. Okay.
The washing machine, first of all, it has a special filter in the agitator that is supposed to collect up to 5 times more pet hair than just your regular washing machine will. So if you open it up, you can take a look in here. And there's this little filter in the middle of the agitator. So if you pop this out, you'll see here that all the hair will collect in here. And then it's just as simple as knocking it out after every load and putting it back in. And you don't have to activate the Pet Pro button because it will still collect hair in there. But if you click the little button here that says Pet Pro, the little paw light will come on. And that way you know that the wash is going to be specifically catered towards collecting all that hair out of your wash load.
Laughing at that, Ashley?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, that's Curtis, Ashley, and Mike in the background. You are not in Turtle Valley right now, but you are from Turtle Valley, and it's been a hell of a last few days for you. So why don't you just start by telling us about the evacuation and how wild that all was?
Yeah, I mean, I think we received an alert at about, I think it was like 5:30, just after 5:30 on Friday, the 18th. You could see the fire pretty much coming. We watched it for about 2 days, the big plumes of smoke. And then on Friday, you could hear it. And it was almost kind of confusion, like what were we hearing? Didn't know if it was like a train or wind. And then we were like, no, that's got to be fire. And it just pretty much turned black. And I think we started loading animals as fast as we could. And it was just, we could see the mountainside on fire, and it was just ripping up the valley. And we essentially, I think, got out of there just at about 8 o'clock. And when I was looking back at our records of when the alert came out, or the order actually came out, was after we left. So I can only make assumptions that the houses there's about 2 or 3 properties that are closer down to the highway. And I believe that they probably didn't receive that order at all before the fire actually even hit their properties.
So Curtis, how do you feel about that and the communication around that whole situation?
It's a very low-tech kind of valley, I guess you could say. There's limited cell service. People don't rely on their cell phones up there. Some people, and a majority of them, don't even have cell phones. They still have landlines. So we just don't understand why there wasn't a ground personnel sent out at a minimum to check these homes. Like, we have tenants on our property that they didn't receive the notice or order or anything, and we were rolling off our property and their horses were still in the pasture, and we thought that was confusing, so we checked on them. They had no clue. We had to rush to get them out last minute.
And well, I guess I called Mike actually right when I got the alert, and he was panicked. He's like, "Oh, I'm out. I gotta go," and hung up. How scary was it? I mean, at that point.
Terrifying. It'll haunt me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's a sound you'll remember forever when you can hear. Sounds like a jet engine was like 10 feet away from you. Sound of the fire roaring over the mountain.
How many animals do you have?
About 170 plus.
170 plus.
Yeah, we managed to get everybody loaded. We were loading our sheep. Curtis had made, we didn't have enough livestock trailers, so Curtis had made a makeshift little rack on the back of our pickup with some fencing and some scrap wood, and we were loading our sheep in, and it came to a point where we couldn't load them anymore. We had to choose us over them, unfortunately, and it broke us leaving and having to pretty much just open our gates and
hope they'd make it.
And so you came back. I guess you weren't supposed to, or
no. I mean, we told them that we still had livestock in there, and they let us pass and back in, and we successfully got the rest of our animals out.
Following day.
I mean, we lost maybe three birds in the process, which, I mean,
it was a stressful situation.
Yeah. So, but we did manage to get all of our livestock out. And back the next day. They were pretty happy. They found their way back into the barn and found a bale of hay, so they were tucked away in there. But I mean, other than that, it was it was terrifying. It was one of those moments where you never want to relive it, and you don't want anyone else to live that and experience that.
Before we get in, I saw your Instagram video you posted this morning of that conversation with the conservation officer. Yeah. And before we get into BC wildfire, and I know because you guys have some concerns with that, why don't we talk about the whole Shuswap Strong thing and what's it been like just as far as the community coming together, and I guess your family coming together. What's that side been like of it with people helping each other?
With this community, I mean, I've said this from the beginning since we've moved here, is that the Shuswap community is something that's you don't experience anywhere else. It's just, there's such a support for anything like businesses. There's no competition between businesses. It's just everybody comes together and collects together. And I mean, in a situation like this, obviously it's been plastered all over the news and all over the social media. It's just heartbreaking that there's individuals out there that want to help their communities, and they're simply being forced away and not allowed to. And especially for a lot of our neighbors too, I've experienced in our valley, specifically in Turtle Valley, is we're watching what's happening in the North Shuswap, and our neighbors are nervous to leave to go get supplies that they need because they're fearful that they won't be allowed to come back. The presence isn't as strong for getting in and out of our valley right now. But I mean, it's disgusting what's happening on the North Shuswap. Like, these people need help and support.
As far as the locals' help and support, I was absolutely amazed when we went back to start trying to get our animals out and just seeing all the trucks rolling around with totes and pumps and just everybody. Not a single one of them was asked to be there, and they're coming from as far as Falkland, White Lake, Pritchard, everywhere. So it was amazing.
And has it been your experience that some of those people who are trying to help are being hindered by authorities?
Not so much in our valley yet. Obviously, it seems to be contained to the North Shuswap because of, I guess, more because they've had the looting issues as well. Whereas we have not had that up in the Turtle Valley area. So they have been more graciously welcomed now, even by the BC Wildfire Service rolling in. Okay,
and what about your experience with BC Wildfire? I know you you pestered them a fair bit. You got people calling them, but what's that whole side of it been like?
I feel like kind of the first response that we got from them after, well, quote unquote pestering, we did kind of feel like there was a sense of annoyance on their end, but it didn't stop us. We needed help. Similar to North Shuswap, we went close to 3 days without zero support. So, I mean, on Sunday, when we were trying to manage and keep the fire back from our property line, and doing our efforts with water and control and whatnot, there was what did we see? We saw like our property was staked out with ribbon for a fire guard, and that was to the extent of their presence in our valley after 3 days.
Mike sent me a video of him and Curtis just putting out the spot fire. So how have you guys defended your property?
No, Mike's running in there with 5-gallon jugs of water, trying to hit things. We had our own fire pump on a tote on our truck, and we just drove it as far as we could into the bush on our property and just hit what we could with the hoses.
Got on quads and tried to clear pathways into the lower section of our property along the fence line. Our fence posts were literally on fire, and I mean, if it wasn't for the rest of those individuals that came and pulled through, I think at some point we had lost count how many people were pulling water out of our creek with our pump and just filling their totes and filling up and continuing to just try to push this thing back. I can't thank them enough, but if it wasn't for them, I don't know where we would be or where the valley would be at this point.
What else has concerned? We had a phone conversation yesterday. What else has concerned you about everything that's happened?
Well, obviously, like what we've covered with the 3 days of no support from BC Wildfire Service. I mean, we watched this fire grow for a month, and I'm beside myself of.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense when it's been the hottest, driest summer BC's seen in a long time, and they made the decision to let a fire burn when they could have easily had the resources at the time to extinguish the fire. You look at the land up there, the fire had one way to go, and it was going to go towards Scotch Creek. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, we actually had a fire personnel speak with us yesterday, and they said in their 20 plus years of fighting fires, they've never ever seen fire behavior like that. And I mean, I just don't understand, if you're a fire expert, like how do you not anticipate with the conditions that we were experiencing leading up to it, that, you know, this could have been a potential. But that with, you know, these locals being condemned for wanting to help and support and save their communities and their livelihood, is that fear liability eliminates like what heroism should be. And it's, I don't know, it's left me a little bit sick to my stomach.
I mean, did you have help? Did you have people coming in to help? I know you're a little bit hesitant to talk about it, but I mean, if you don't want to, fair enough. I mean, did people come and help you?
Oh yeah, like
locals were there. They were not without asking. There was just people driving around, and they said, if you see fire, point us in the direction and we'll try to get to it.
I ripped our wedding poster of our wedding photo off of our wall and busted it in half and just wrote water and pump on it and tie wired it to our mailboxes so people knew where there was a fill station, and they just started using it and started going up the FSR and hitting it as hard as they could.
And you did eventually, I think, I mean, you had a chopper there yesterday, right?
Yes.
So what has happened as far as authorities helping you in the last little bit here?
So on Monday, our neighbors that are pretty much on the corner of Turtle Valley, Squilax Road and English Road were set up with structural protection systems. And then they also had, like, we could hear, we were there yesterday and you could hear a feller buncher working in the back on the cut block.
Clearing the cut line.
And then we did have aerial support yesterday with one helicopter bucketing, I'd say close to 5 to 6 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So, and then the smoke kind of rolled in again. I don't know if that's why they left, but, and we're not sure what's happening out there today as of yet.
I was going to ask you about the status. Are you confident now that your structures are going to be safe?
With the upcoming temperature changes?
Yeah,
it's nerve-wracking still.
Yeah.
I don't think we're in the clear, that's for sure.
No, the potential for hot spots to keep popping up as they pop in or getting back up over 30 degrees. We haven't had enough rain yet.
Have you guys slept?
Well,
Barely.
I think it was I was awake for about 40 hours, I think.
What did you choose to save? I mean, because you grabbed. Did you grab
animals?
Yeah.
Lives.
Yeah, we left with more animals than clothes, that's for sure.
We had the clothes on our backs, pretty much, and our animals. And I'm a safety professional by trade, so I've always had a tote and some first aid kits and everything kind of by the door, ready to go. So we had our like important documents and like laptops and pretty much cash, and that was it. And we took what time we had to move any type of flammables and combustibles that were in and around the house and just threw it all in our pasture and left.
Mike came back for his Starlink.
Yeah, he did actually, and then he brought it here and it didn't even work.
It's satellite, so he could keep gambling. Okay, you got any questions?
No, I was just listening, and it's harrowing, and it's very reminiscent of what happened last year in Monty Lake. That fire came, the concerns about not hitting it fast enough, the concerns about not letting people who know the land, who have experience, fight it, and the concerns about people having to sneak back in to save their houses is identical to last year in Monty Lake, and you'd think something would have changed in the wintertime.
That's our biggest concern, is why they keep just saying, oh, it's not threatening anything, just let it burn.
Yeah.
If you want to do forest management, do it in the fall, do it in the spring. Don't let a forest burn in the middle of a hot summer.
It's very similar to last year, and the concerns that you guys are raising now about people being blocked from trying to save their own places, and I get the whole liability thing. Nothing's changed in over a year, so that's a hot topic still.
Yeah, and these communities, I mean, where a lot of these individuals are equipped, and a lot of these individuals, you know, are professionals in logging or construction and whatnot. Like they know, and they have the equipment, and they know the area. So let us help.
Yeah, like when BC wildfires roll in, why don't they just set up a big volunteer tent? So all these people that are going to help anyhow can just come and tell you, this is what I know, this is what I have, this is how I can help.
Use the
knowledge.
knowledge.
And then they can assign you, good communication. Like they could give you a radio, because that's the biggest thing is, oh, you don't know where we are and what we're doing. Well, give me a radio and then I will.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else you guys want to add?
I just wanted to talk and touch briefly on the emergency support systems. For us specifically, and for other people in our valley, like some of us that are pushed out to the farther end of the valley, it's a good hour, maybe hour and a half drive to Kamloops. And I mean, for us specifically, it took us 2 days, and then even another day just to get our animals settled because we were misplaced and they were as well. And we still haven't checked in at a center because it's just the highway's closed between us and Kamloops, and it seems to be like that's the only option that we had. And I just don't understand that when people are in distress like this and in need, that there should be other checkpoints throughout the province, or even at least in like surrounding communities. Like we're out near Sycamoose, so why can't we just go to town hall in Sycamoose and check in, you know?
Yeah, good point. Everyone has to come to Mac Island, and you can't get here. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Mike, anything to add back there?
Man, you're doing a great job.
You're like a wrestling manager right now.
Captain Lou Albano back there.
Okay, unless you got anything else to talk about, we can let you go. Anything else?
No, we just want to thank you guys for getting us on here and saying our bit and speaking on behalf of our valley. And you know, our hearts go out to everybody in the North Shuswap, the little Shuswap Indian band, Sorrento. I mean, they've been far more affected by this than we have, but seeing even what we've been through, I mean, we haven't lost anything yet, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. But something needs to change. BC can't continue to burn.
Okay, well, we're thinking about you. Let me know if I can do anything, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Marty. Way to go, bud.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate you, man.
Volkswagen.
Like she said at the very beginning, and he also mentioned they'll never forget the sound. and she's going to break down because it's their life. And this is what I was saying to you out in the parking lot. This is even more so when it's your primary residence. It's bad enough for people who lose cabins, summer cabins. That's horrible. But to lose your primary residence or to be worried about it, that's your whole life.
Yeah. What are you going to do? I mean, are you going to listen to an evacuation order or save your whole livelihood?
You're going to save your livelihood. Absolutely. And it's different. I argue it's different than, say, an idiot like us, where we don't know what we're doing. They know what they're doing. They live in this area. We get paper cuts for a living. They're loggers. They're foresters. They know what they're doing. I would trust them to help me.
I mean, the arguments on the other side are you could interfere with the professionals doing their work.
Mm-hmm.
You could be on the roads when the roads should be used for emergency
on the lakes when
personnel.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, there's
there's liabilities. We talked about that. The fact is, there's the regional district, whether it's TNRD or the Columbia Shuswap Regional District. It's their mandate to issue the evacuation order, and that, I think, means that they've issued the order. If you contravene the order and you get hurt or killed, you can't sue them because the order was in place. So I think part of the reason they do that is to protect liability. But as many people have said, many people in North Shuswap in the news, one of them talked to our paper and Salmon Arm and Global News. They said, we understand the liability, but I'm taking that risk.
Yeah.
I'll sign whatever you want to absolve yourself of any. It's not about suing you if I get hurt. I need to save my. So that's what they don't understand. The people can't understand it. We get it, but we're going to do it regardless.
Yeah.
And if there's no liability, if the order's there, it's my fault. I get that.
What about some kind of online app where you sign in and say, okay, I'm taking you. You're no longer responsible. If I get hurt, you're not on the hook.
And I think that's. I'm sure a lawyer will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what the order does. A legal order means that the government is not liable because you're contravening it, which is why we have the cops and the conservation officers saying we need to stop you because if you go on this road, you're contravening the thing. They're doing what they can do. I've heard where cops will say, okay, we'll get the water and go back real quick, but if they're caught doing that, then they could be liable. So it's kind of weird. Like I'm just following orders, which they're doing, the police and the CSOs, and there's a legal reason for it, but it doesn't make sense when you're trying to save your house, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Anything, Mike?
Whew. Yeah, it's scary. I remember when the fire came in Valley View, and I looked around looking at my place thinking, it's going. My wife packs all the emergency kit like she was saying, but yeah, that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I feel for them and everybody that lost their places, and I was tearing up when she was talking about her animals and how they just opened the gate, they
and hope that they survive. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, this morning, on the 23rd today, Premier David Eby was speaking on this issue, this very issue, and he said he understands why they want to do that, but he also understands that they have to protect them from falling trees and from getting in the way of the firefighters, etc. But he did say this morning, he was talking to Mike Smith on the Mike Smith show on NW. He said, I realize that a lot of the people, especially in the Shuswap, much less so in the West Kelowna, they have experience. They know the land. They have knowledge. They have their forestry and they have logging experience. And he says it might be. He alluded to Australia, which I think has a program where they use local resources. He says it's something we're going to look at after this fire season. Last fire season, the same thing happened in Monty Lake, as we just mentioned. Yeah. And people there were having the exact same complaint, saying, we know this land. Yeah. Let me get my equipment up there and build a fire guard. They weren't allowed to do it. And they were pissed off. And they did it after the fact, after the fire came in.
Yeah. There's been a year to implement something.
They should have been doing this on the off season. Same with Indigenous fire knowledge keepers. I mean, you have people in the Skichitsin band last year. They finally were brought in and they were helping the fire because they know the land. They know how fire works better than we do because they've been here for millennia. So, and I get what David Eby is saying. Yeah, they should review it, but it should have been reviewed last year because this is just a carbon copy of what happened last year in Monty Lake. So, if nothing's going to change next year, we have a bad fire season. It might be somewhere else in the rural area where the same thing's going to happen again. It doesn't make any sense.
You got to think changes are going to happen now.
It has to. Use the resources in a safe way. Like your buddy there said, made a great point. Well, he listed why they're not allowed to do it, and he came back with a few things that made sense. Well, give me a radio. Tell me where to go. Very simple. If the water problems are on the lake, the skimmer's on the lake, we'll stay off the lake. It doesn't seem to be that complicated.
Okay. Let's wrap the show. I like today's show. We had a power outage that right when Glenn was talking.
You couldn't see me because it was dark in here, but my eyes were wild, I think.
Yeah, so we thought we might have lost the entire show.
Yeah.
Power came back on. We didn't, so what a blessing. I loved talking to Ashley and Curtis, and Mike just stoically sitting in the back.
Mike, he had a presence, didn't he?
He had a presence for sure. He just wanted to make fun of me.
Yes.
Volkswagen, Gord's, McDonald's. We just can't do the show without them. We can't. We got Mayor Reed Hamer-Jackson on Monday. We have a Monday show next week, so pay attention to that. Mayor's coming on. Mike's moved his schedule around to help us out, so we appreciate that. It's Reader's Digest on Monday. I wonder what he has to say about everything with the fires. We'll ask him. 439 subscribers. We're growing. We just hit 400. We're up to 439 now. News hero over here.
Big deal.
Follow our Instagram. We had to change it. So we have a new Instagram handle. It's Kamloops Last Week. We're going out on our own due to some other meta shit. That's
Bill C-18.
Bill C-18.
Pox on all of them.
Now, we should mention, too, Music in the Park.
Yes.
Is still going ahead. We canceled for the first night. We try to take the city's lead on health and welfare with working outdoors, and it was just so smoky and so bad that we actually canceled 2 nights ago. Last night, the band couldn't make it out, and it was on the verge of whether or not it was going to be good or not. But going forward, we've got a great band coming in from Calgary, a Led Zeppelin tribute band, which is going to be awesome. That's tonight or tomorrow night?
24th.
Yeah, so that's going to be really great, but we're going day by day to see what the smoke's like. But we're like the City of Kamloops Music in the Park Facebook page, and you'll see it'll be updated up there if there's a cancellation.
Best Zeppelin song in your mind?
There's so many.
Misty Mountain
so
Hop
many
comes to
great.
mind. Yeah,
Misty
I like
Mountain,
that.
I like When the Levee Breaks.
I love When the Levee
just
Breaks.
Like, awesome.
I know
and John Bonham is like one of the greatest drummers
Best.
of all time.
Best.
And did you know that there is a Kamloops connection to John Bonham?
No.
Yes, there is. I will show you real quick here. John Bonham in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, was playing on actually a Kamloops made drum kit, and these are them.
No way. A Kamloops made drum kit.
Yes, those are called staccato drums. They were designed by Pat Townsend, Pete Townsend's brother, and there was a guy in Kamloops named Bill Feelick that was manufacturing them, and there's John Bonham playing a Kamloops made drum kit.
Wow. Very cool.
And you know what's really exciting is we have the original molds, and we're going to start building
That's
those. So
right.
there you
You're
go.
going to be bringing them back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool Kamloops connection. Music in the Parks, day by day. And I'm Mike Miltimore for Marty, Chris, Bill. That's Kamloops this week. Last week, whatever. You want to do it?
Well, I did want to say you really bungled that, so we're not gonna end on that note.
And then I'm just going to go.
You want to go? Well, When the Levee Breaks, first of all, the riff, the opening, just that's an amazing song. Also, Black Dog.
Oh, Black Dog.
Like, when I heard that,
Stairway. Like, come on, that whole Led Zeppelin 4 thing was amazing.
I wanted to talk about Ethan Kasperg very quickly. World champion hammer thrower.
Yes, incredible.
81.25 meters.
The
Canadian
video is
record.
amazing.
Fantastic.
He came here in 2020 throwing
From Nanaimo.
55 meters. He's from Nanaimo. He's been here for 3 years, and he's the world champion. 55 meters to 81.25 in 3 years. Dylan Armstrong, Kamloops Track and Field Club, Pacific Sport, the City of Kamloops, everyone behind them. There's so much Kamloops love from them on the national broadcast too. Ethan and Dylan saying we couldn't have done it without Kamloops. So congratulations. There's the stats here. He's the new Canadian record holder. He's the youngest world champion ever in hammer throw, the youngest medalist ever at the event, and the first Canadian man to medal in hammer throw.
It's crazy. He's a world champion.
World champion.
Yeah.
Now, for Christopher Folds, for Magic Mike, for Bill, I'm Marty, and we'll see you last week.
Last week.